Guys, I want to talk about memes because it seems to me that one of the features of this debate we're having over the government shutdown is this fact that the memes are really not a side story anymore. They are, in fact, they are the way we are debating this thing. There's an interesting article by a guy named Dan Baldino, who's an associate professor at Notre Dame. Headline is Memes are the new manifestos and legacy media is missing the story. And he says this, he says, far from disposable entertainment, memes now function as ideological tools. They package complex ideas in formats that circulate faster than manifestos or speeches. And once memes spread, their influence is difficult to undo. So, Carl, I know you're a keen observer of a political discourse and always trying to raise it. I'm wondering how you view our current discourse, which now has gone from 126 characters on Twitter or whatever it was to memes.
I was thinking of this, Andy. I saw the sombreros and fake mustaches and mariachi bands that Donald Trump and JD Vance are using against Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, and the Democratic Party's lost its collective mind for it. MSNBC's anchor, what's his name?
Lawrence
Tommy.
O'Donnell.
Yeah, Lawrence O'Donnell says it's depraved and filthy. The routinely denounced in the press as racist. Now, it's ethnic humor, but whether it's racist or not is a very subtle distinction. I once wrote a column when I was a very young reporter, and we were allowed to write like one or two columns a year. It's called the Saturday Column. It's the San Diego Union Tribune, and I wrote a column. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but it was about Polish jokes, which have largely gone away. But, did you hear about the Polak who blank? And they weren't really anything to do with Polish people. It was a version, Texas, they tell Aggie jokes, and Norway, they tell Swedish jokes, and Swedish, I think they tell Norway jokes. And in German, it's the farmer. Did you hear about the farmer who, and it's blonde jokes. It's the dumb guy, the dumb person. But I said, Poland was then under great pressure from the Soviet Union, and Lech Walesa had emerged as this worldwide hero for freedom. And I wrote this column, said, there's nothing funny about these jokes. The Polish people are not stupid. They have more Nobel Prize winners per capita than any other country. And just kind of a scolding, humorless column about Polish jokes. I was in my 20s, and I'm not Polish. And I put that in the column too. It's to this day the single thing I wrote that got the greatest response. People sent me letters. There was no internet then. Letters, handwritten letters from Poland. Some of them written in Polish. I had to have translated. Hundreds and hundreds of letters from people telling me how much they appreciated it. So ethnic humor can hurt, and we shouldn't. If it's racist.
Did you get anybody who sent you letters saying, "Dude, they're just jokes"? Like,
Right.
No, but.
You're being a scold.
One or two people in the newsroom said, Cannon, I've heard you tell ethnic jokes.
So yeah, but Carl,
I believe that is
Carl,
fact check true.
You're missing the point of my question. My question isn't whether or not
I'm not, Andy, but we have an hour a day on this show. We have time. Just bear with me.
All right.
Just bear with me.
Yeah.
The ethnic humor can be funny or can be wrong. It can be misplaced. What's happening now is that these two political parties are talking past each other. The Republicans get what this sociologist you're talking about. They get the moment. People are laughing at this. They don't really think Hakeem Jeffries, it's so random. Hakeem Jeffries is not even Hispanic. He should be able to roll his eyes at this. He's come undone instead over it, which the Democrats every convention, they have all these movie stars and screenwriters and rock stars and all the pretty people from Hollywood, all the greatest brilliant writers, they're all Democrats. And, the Republicans get like Lee Greenwood and some like wrestler you never heard of. But guess what?
Don't diss Lee Greenwood on this
Seriously.
show. He's an American treasure.
Okay, but guess what?
You're taking a shot at Hulk Hogan too?
It turns out, though, that in the era of Trump, it's the Republicans who have their finger on the pulse of America culturally. I'm agreeing with you. Asked me a loaded question, but you were right, and I'm agreeing with you. And I just think that these memes, they're making fun of the Democrats because the Democrats are being self-serious and supercilious and dishonest and kind of posturing. That's what the memes are about. That's what they expose. one of the reasons they're funny is that they get to the heart of what people don't like about Democrats, even some Democrats. This humorlessness, this over earnestness, this, you take a talking point because you think it works and then you pretend like you believe it. That's what these memes are exposing. And that's why I think they're effective. And I find them funny, although that's purely subjective. I'm sure some people don't. But Hakeem Jeffries didn't allow himself. These Democrats don't allow themselves to get the joke. They don't even approach it on that level, except for Gavin Newsom does it. He's not as funny as these people doing Trump social media, but at least he understands that you can make fun, that you can have fun.
Well, anybody who's got teenagers will understand that they communicate in memes. I don't want to say exclusively, but it's a huge part of their communication patterns and their life online. And it has sort of worked its way up into the realm of the serious, right? Politics, and people who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s now can regularly communicate, receive information, disseminate information via memes. And I totally agree with what the professor wrote that you read. They take their shortcuts, and they take complex ideas and distill them down into very simplistic things. And we've all seen these various kind of memes. The one where the guy's walking with his girlfriend with his arm around, but he's looking back at the girl who just walked by. And we've seen that meme 1,000 times,
million times
about,
right.
yeah, but on 25 or 30 different subjects. And instantly when we see it and we see the labels that are put on there, we recognize what the person is trying to say. What's going on with this meme in particular, and I agree with Carl. I mean, Republicans are way better at memeing than Democrats for some reason. I don't know why that is or how that is, but they certainly are. And this idea to put sombrero, it is funny. I'm sorry. It's humorous because it's so silly, and you can think it's juvenile and maybe in bad taste or whatever, but still also think, it's not the worst thing in the world, to paraphrase, Lawrence O'Donnell. But the problem is, when this happened to JD Vance and they made that funny face of him with the beard and the Jerry curl hair and all that, he posted that and laughed about it, right? He sort of leaned into it. It was, and then people started posting it all over the place. It became this phenomenon. It was sort of a weird thing to happen, but JD Vance didn't, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're making fun of me. I'm the vice president of the United States. No, not at all. He actually leaned into it to the point where it became this thing. And now, even to this day, when you see those pictures, you kind of laugh. And he posted one just the other day. Meanwhile, what Hakeem Jeffries did, instead of letting this roll off his back and being a one-day story or less, this is racist, blah, 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 blah. And
say it to my face, he said.
They took the clip of him saying how awful and racist it was, and the Trump folks, and they put a sombrero and a mustache on that, and it became this running gag. And so he made it infinitely worse, infinitely much more viral.
Well, Tom, remember, and this reporter asked JD Vance about, in an earnest way, the way I would ask a question in my younger days. Do you really think that's helpful? Same question was asked of John Thune, who clearly doesn't think it's helpful, and he said, "Well, that's not my messaging."
Right.
But JD Vance came right back, and he got to the heart of it. He said, "Well, if they'll negotiate with us in good faith, open the government, we'll stop doing the memes." And that got to the heart of it, because what is that meme is that Jeffries and Schumer, and they're just talking gibberish, and that's the humor. That's the message behind the meme. For a meme to be effective, political humor depends on you're pointing out the absurdity of the other person's position or their hypocrisy, and doing so in an irreverent, lighthearted way. And that's what political humor is. And the Democrats either pretend they don't get the joke or are so wrapped around the axle on identity politics that they actually just can't allow themselves to even engage.
Yeah, I thought that was it was a lighthearted moment when JD Vance said that, but he, with all due respect, I mean, yes, the president could stop retweeting and amplifying, reposting these memes, but JD Vance doesn't control the internet. He's not going to be able to stop people from making these memes about Hakeem Jeffries. And even if they did open the government, I suspect they would still be making memes about him. This is something that may live on with Hakeem Jeffries and other Democrats, quite frankly, well into the future, whether JD Vance approves of it or not.
Yeah, I was going to say that one of the interesting things I think about sort of meme culture is that it bubbles up. I mean,
Absolutely.
the president then retweets stuff. It does. It's, you know, it's not always the case that he or his people.
But
are
I mean,
that's
when it became a big
right?
deal, and that's when Democrats were like, "Oh, this is, you know, Trump's a
Yes,
racist."
no,
Yeah,
no.
But
course,
Tom,
obviously,
but Tom's point is right. You know, you can't control. There's a parody account called Il Donaldo, which normally makes fun of Trump, and this time it put a sombrero on JD Vance with a mustache, and it has Vance talking in pidgin Spanish, and it makes fun of the Democrats and of JD Vance. And that's Tom's right. That's going to continue. That nobody's going to be able to stop that.